In before his parents allegedly abandoned him.
I'm Dr. Nancy Snyderman. The EPA issues a strong warning about secondhand smoke and children and smoking at work. I'll have details.
Well, they're on TV, they're in the tabloids, and now they're together at last. Diana meets the dinosaurs.
Also, Chef Joyce Goldstein joins us with tips on eating right, even when you're eating out.
The news is next.
You are watching KPIX Channel 5. Now, live Eyewitness News at 5.
Good evening. Tonight we begin with a story of courage and sacrifice. It's about a young boy who's undergoing brain surgery right now, a procedure that could possibly end his life. Before going into the operating room, he was asked to make one final wish. Tony Risamano reports that is where the amazing part of this story comes in.
Christopher Alexander is passing the last hour before his 8th brain operation playing a computer game. The 10-year-old Florida boy has been undergoing surgeries at Stanford's Lucile Packard Children's Hospital to correct a rare brain vessel disorder, which has left him partially paralyzed. Since he was 3, Christopher has endured intense headaches and debilitating pain. He once vomited 24 hours a day for 30 straight days. Before today's surgery, the Make-A-Wish Foundation told him they will grant him his fondest wish. Of all the things in the world, here is what Christopher wants.
Give Connor a heart.
Connor is 5-month-old Connor Brownlee, an infant in desperate need of a heart transplant. The Paso Robles baby has been waiting for a match since March and is now on total life support and showing signs of heart failure. Christopher has never seen Connor in person, but he has come to know Connor's mom, Becky, at Ronald McDonald House, where they've both been staying. Christopher's wish is that a donor heart will be found for Connor.
If he dies, their family would cry and they want to see his face.
Most children given a wish will ask to go to Disneyland or meet Michael Jackson. Christopher wanted none of those things.
I think it's the most unselfish and giving thing that somebody could do. Christopher is a very giving and kind little boy. He brings a lot of joy to a lot of people. And he just wants the best for everyone. He doesn't think of himself.
Connor is getting worse, but his parents are given strength by Christopher's wish.
Well, it gives me a lot of hope, and I'm just shows that everybody, that people are kind and giving, and they really don't think about themselves sometimes.
Little Connor's parents want the parents of healthy children to think about the issue of organ donations before tragedy strikes, so that if the worst happens, parents can take their tragedy and make something good of it. At Stanford, Tony Risamano, Channel 5 Eyewitness News.
Tonight at 10, we'll have the latest on how Christopher came through surgery today. Well, there's little any of us can do in this situation. We do want to share this phone number with you in case you have information that could help Connor find a new heart. It's toll-free, area code 800-55-DONOR. This is also a good number to call if you'd like general information on the donor program. Kate?
We're learning more tonight about a little boy who was abandoned by his parents in Oakland more than a month ago. His father and mother are in jail on felony child abandonment charges. Today we got a glimpse into the life that family shared before the child was left to face the world alone. Robert Honda reports.
Investigators say a look into the eyes of Paul Crowd Jr. reveals a short, traumatic life. Opening the door to part of the world he grew up in provides some clues to his withdrawn behavior and his abandonment. This is the way his father, Paul Crowd Sr., left their room at the Ebony Plaza Hotel when they were evicted for not paying rent last month. The boy's mother, Pauline Strong, took the boy into her care, but he was abandoned shortly afterwards in Oakland. Relatives say both parents have serious drug problems.
They're on crack, so that was the main thing. And then being on crack, you spend all your money on that, and then the house is not clean, the food and things like that weren't worried about.
This is Paul's older sister, Eunisha. She is about 4.5 years old and now lives with her great-grandmother. The woman, who asked not to be identified, says she'll keep Eunisha, but says the family doesn't know what to do with Paul Jr.
I don't know. Maybe some good family could adopt him.
You don't think that the family or the relatives should take on Paul Jr.?
If they wish to, and if they would like to take him, but for us sake, I could not take him.
Today, social service officials say the boy is beginning to talk, but there have been no decisions made on his future. He he remains a ward of the court. Here at the Oakland jail, police today cut off any access to the parents. Officers also say Paul Crowd Sr. and Pauline Strong have not been cooperating with investigators. So how the parents actually feel about what should happen with Paul Jr. will now have to wait until they can clear up their legal mess. They are scheduled to be arraigned tomorrow. In Oakland, Robert Honda, Channel 5 Eyewitness News.
And we've learned that Pauline Strong has a baby as well. At this point, social workers won't comment on the infant, but relatives describe the child, in their words, as a crack baby born with handicaps. The family does not know who has custody.
The Environmental Protection Agency today announced recommendations on how people can protect children and themselves from secondhand cigarette smoke. Joining us now on call with more on the EPA's action is Dr. Nancy Snyderman. Doc?
Mac, these results really come from the EPA report that was out earlier this year, a very exhaustive report on secondhand smoke that the EPA really wanted to be at the forefront of its new push, frankly, against secondhand smoke. At that time, the EPA reclassified secondhand smoke as a major cancer threat, which causes 3,000 lung cancer deaths every year. Today, the EPA recommended that restaurants and bars should fully separate smoking areas and make sure that there is a separate ventilation system. The EPA says simply separating smokers from non-smokers is not enough because smoke can drift into other areas. So the EPA also encouraged non-smoking parents to bar anyone from smoking in their homes. If parents smoke around their kids, they put them at serious risk for illnesses like pneumonia and bronchitis.
EPA estimates that passive smoking is responsible for between 150,000 and 300,000 lower respiratory tract infections in infants and children under 18 months of age annually, resulting in between 7,500 and 15,000 hospitalizations each year.
Now, that woman was the head of the EPA, but not everyone was agreeing with her today. Tobacco companies have filed a lawsuit challenging the EPA's findings. And today on Capitol Hill, one congressman accused the EPA of, quote, manipulating scientific data, end quote. Now, if you're concerned about secondhand smoke, there are some things you can do. The EPA suggests, first of all, don't let anyone smoke in your home and don't let anyone else smoke either, especially if you have young children. Keep the cigarette smoke out. Make sure your child's school is also smoke-free. A lot of daycare centers around this country don't have a policy. Talk to your employer about establishing a smoke policy at work and lobby your local government to enact a smoking control ordinance. Very important. 50,000 people a year, it's estimated now, die because of secondhand smoke. It's going to be an interesting legal battle, but most scientists and doctors don't have any qualms about this one at all.
No, it's near and dear to your heart.
Yes, it certainly is.
Now that the EPA is recommending better separation at work and in restaurants, what's the next move?
Well, the EPA doesn't really have the legal authority to march into restaurants and decide what's going to happen, but OSHA, Occupational Safety and Health Administration, is expected to take action later this year because of the EPA report, and I suspect that they'll be able to carry through.
All right. Thanks, Don.
You bet, Mac.
Well, a new study shows that loading up on vitamins will not reduce a woman's risk of breast cancer. In fact, it could make her chances of getting the disease slightly greater. Now, according to research in today's New England Journal of Medicine, large doses of vitamins C and E is ineffective in preventing breast cancer. And very large doses of vitamin A may actually increase the risk. The bottom line, don't count on a pill to protect your health and conduct regular self-exams. And if you're over the age of 40, get a mammogram every 2 years. Well, a group of women, senators, joined forces today to fight a new plan that would restrict funding for abortions. A Senate subcommittee voted yesterday to exclude the abortion procedure from a health care benefits package for federal workers. Today, the 5 women Democrats in the Senate said they will do all they can to protect that funding. California's 2 senators are leading the effort.
The subcommittee members are setting up a 2-tier system, playing politics with women's health and leaving many of our nation's women out in the cold.
We will fight in the committees, we will fight on the floor, we will fight in the marches. And we are joined in this fight by a phalanx of women and men standing behind us who support unequivocally the right of women to choose with respect to when they will have a child.
The senators say the Democratic women will fight to make sure the right to choose is protected and expanded.
President Clinton canceled a number of public appearances today after the suicide of a lifelong friend. Vincent Foster met Bill Clinton in kindergarten. Later, he became Hillary Rodham Clinton's law partner and was working as deputy White House counsel when he shot himself last night. The suicide left the president and those around him stunned and mystified. Kent Jarrell has the story.
President Clinton and his staff are in mourning for the loss of Vince Foster. The president had known Foster since kindergarten days back in Hope, Arkansas. The president was notified of the apparent suicide Tuesday evening and visited Foster's wife and 3 children.
There is really no way to know why these things happen. And it is very important that his life not be judged simply by how it ended, because Vince Foster was a wonderful man in every way. And because no one can know why things like this happen.
Foster's body was found Tuesday evening at a park in Virginia overlooking the Potomac River. There was no note. Police say Foster died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. The weapon was still in his hand. Foster was a former law partner of Hillary Rodham Clinton and White House deputy counsel, where he was involved in the troubled nomination searches for Attorney General. He was also in on the decision to fire employees of the White House Travel Office and kept the First Lady advised. President Clinton says he does not think Foster was driven to suicide by White House problems during the first 6 months of the administration. But the president advised his young staff to pay more attention to family and friends, that work is not the most important part of life. The president will be attending funeral services in Arkansas on Friday. Kent Jarrell for CBS News at the White House.
Vincent Foster's friends at the White House said he had expressed frustration recently over criticism of the administration, but said it was nothing out of the ordinary. Kate?
The White House now says there's no more that the United States can do to end the killing in Bosnia. The statement came from Secretary of State Warren Christopher today as the civil war in the former Yugoslav Republic intensified. He said the U.S. commitment to protect UN peacekeepers in so-called safe zones has failed to prevent Serb and Croat soldiers from fighting and wounding innocent civilians. The Secretary of State added that while American troops will continue to help humanitarian efforts in Bosnia, there are no plans to send our soldiers in to fight.
How are people from the Bay Area helping victims of the Midwest floods?
The answer and what may be a losing battle to keep high water away from another town.
And what's for dinner? It doesn't have to be chicken or beef, you know. Joyce Goldstein will be here with some healthy answers for you when we come back.
Man has long asked the question, which came first, the chicken or the egg? Today, Caro's asks, which came first, the pancake or the egg? Because with Caro's $2.99 all-you-can-eat pancake and egg breakfast, you can have all the eggs you like and all the pancakes you like, as much as you like for just $2.99. So it doesn't really matter which came first, because you come first at Caro's.
Could I have just a few more pancakes, please? Sure. Thanks.
Our main objective when we built our new front-wheel drive minivan was to make certain that it was the only vehicle in its class, period. Introducing Mercury Villager. If it was just another minivan, it wouldn't be a Mercury. All this and the quality of a Mercury.
At Jenny Craig, we've helped thousands of people lose millions of pounds. But we're celebrating a little number this year, 10. It's our 10th anniversary. 10 years of one-on-one counseling, fabulous cuisine, and a plan for living thin that really works. Don't you think an anniversary like this calls for a once-in-a-lifetime offer? We thought so.
Celebrate our 10th anniversary. Join for 10 weeks and pay only $10. Call 1-800-92-JENNY.
Rather than go to all of the stores, I use the phone and call them up and get the prices, and I write down the prices in the book.
So you comparison shop in the Pacific Bell Smart Yellow Pages?
Actually, she uses the book a lot.
I'll bet she does, yeah.
She's very cheap, see?
I look for, like, resale stores. Anything that I want, I check this book first.
You're lucky. She's rational. I mean, you know. She's probably saving you a lot of money that you can waste in other ways, you know?
It's true.
You know, she's not cheap. She's smart, as in Smart Yellow Pages. You made a good choice. You need her. You need her. You got me in trouble without her.
Tonight on Channel 5, 2 episodes of Family Dog at 7 and 7:30, followed by In the Heat of the Night at 8, 48 Hours at 9, and Eyewitness News at 10.
When you go to a restaurant or when you cook at home, chances are you plan your meal around a main course, usually chicken or beef. But there may be a healthier way to look at eating. Chef and owner of Square One Restaurant in San Francisco, Joyce Goldstein's here to tell us more about that. And I know you recently went to a conference, and the whole topic was on healthy eating and getting us to change our diets a little bit.
Yes, actually, it was a very interesting group of chefs, nutritionists, and doctors, and we were discussing things like heart disease and cancer, and how the healthiest diets were both Mediterranean and Asian. And you know, in this country, we order food, like if you were at the restaurant tonight, you'd say, I'll have the veal chop. But if you were ordering this, you'd say, I'd have risotto or pasta, because you wouldn't be identifying it by the center of the plate, which in America represents these gross portions of protein.
So we usually do. We usually go in and say, I'll have the veal or the quail
or the chicken or the
chicken
whatever.
Or the salmon.
Right.
But as a main course, ordering risotto is fine, or pasta, because isn't in Europe, isn't this a side course or a starter?
It's a starter, but you see the meat portions in Europe are about this big, and then you get a big plate of vegetables as a course by itself. So it's still largely a plant-based diet with a lot of grain. I mean, we have corn and rice and vegetables here, and just a few prawns, maybe 2 ounces of protein.
I love risotto, but I always think it's fattening, or the pasta is going to be fattening. I mean, is that a problem?
No, because you're going to burn up those calories. Those are carbs. So
really this is
much worse for you, absolutely, because this is fat that your body does not burn up, and this is the saturated fat that stays in the arteries.
So when you do go to a restaurant, though, I feel a little bit nervous saying, I'm going to have an appetizer and a pasta. I think the waiter's going to look at me and think she's cheap or she's not eating enough or whatever. Is that going to change where you don't have to order the big, heavy entree?
I think that the big, heavy entree should start receding and the protein portion should start shrinking, because quality has more to do with gross portion. Quality has to do with taste, with freshness, and of course the price will reflect this, shrinking portion of stuff, but we have to pay more for organic vegetables, right?
I was going to say, when you see these on the menu, risotto isn't necessarily a lot less than having the big piece of veal. Sometimes it's pretty close.
This would be a lot more for us because this is also free-range veal. We had to pay a lot for it. But I'd rather give you a teeny piece and give you more of this and price it fairly.
Are we going to see then, do you think, menus actually changing and having a number of pastas,
I think we're going to start seeing an influx of the new diet on our menu. It's going to take a little while to get Americans to be willing to forget that center of the plate.
And so experiment a little bit and order out of the normal range.
Right.
Okay, thanks a lot, Joyce, for being with us. Mac?
The people of Des Moines, Iowa should be finally able to enjoy the simple luxury of drinking water tomorrow. It's been 12 days since the flood damaged their city's water system. Efforts to restore water failed last night because of a broken water main and also because too many people turned on their taps before the system had been refilled. In South St. Louis, more than 150 homes are now exposed to the floodwaters. A levee broke, causing water to surge into neighborhoods. Workers repaired it last night, but with more heavy rains expected, there are fears the levee may crumble again. Nearly 24 volunteers from the Bay Area are going to the Midwest to help the people whose lives have been uprooted by the flooding. Nancy McHenry with the Red Cross is one of 3 people.
The call came out over the weekend for Santa Clara Valley, and we are responding with about 20 volunteers at least out of our zone area.
Once they arrive in St. Louis, the Bay Area volunteers will work at various shelters helping the flood victims. Ryan Sussman will be here in 2 minutes with the forecast for the Midwest and the Bay Area, and he'll show you how people in Kansas are trying to prevent flooding similar to what's happening along the Mississippi.
I'll get the cereal, honey.
Morning! You'll love this cereal.
Where'd you come from?
A different time when grains were kept whole for the natural hearty taste. Great grains, toasted wheat, oats, and barley, kept whole, full of flavor.
Pecans, dates, raisins.
Enjoy it with the missus.
Thanks.
Great. Where'd you get this?
Mind if I tell her?
What was great back then is great grains now. A great cereal from Post.
Some people say eating right means settling for less flavor. I say baloney. Well, like Healthy Choice cold cuts. We love them. Sure, they have less fat and salt, but I think that lets more flavor come through. The seasonings they use in the bologna, the honey and the honey ham, it's delicious. Takes the ham and dips it in the mustard and eats it. It's gonna get eaten. It's not just gonna sit in my refrigerator. With Healthy Choice, I get the nutrition and I get the taste, yeah.
It goes by the lofty title, The American Dream. But it's also known as the fixer-upper with 1.5 baths, or the new wagon with room for 10. On occasion, it goes by the name the orthodontist said braces, for both. So if you're Bank of America, you stand by to help with the money, no matter what the dream's called. Even when it answers to Jenny, college freshman, class of 2005. Banking on America. Bank of America.
Well, now here he is, Mr. Hurricane Season. This is hurricane season, isn't it?
Well, you never know it.
That's the reason I asked. I haven't heard anything. I've heard about everything else in the world happening weather-wise, but not that.
However, now that you mention it, an interesting little tidbit came out of the National Hurricane Center in Miami. Bob Sheets, the guy you always see on TV talking about hurricanes, says that according to hurricane history, we may be into a hurricane cycle of major intensity. In other words, we could be seeing some biggies like Andrew and like Iniki in the season to come and so forth. So we'll have to wait and see on that. That's not really good news. Now, here's what's brewing as far as the rest of the Pacific is concerned with hurricanes right now. We have Tropical Depression Dora, which is bringing some showers to the Hawaiian Islands right now, and winds of about 30 miles an hour. That's not a big deal. Hurricane Eugene, though, further out in the Pacific, that's packing winds of 110 miles per hour, but it is decreasing in intensity, so no threat to the Hawaiian Islands at this time. You'll notice on national radar right now, we're seeing some more rain in Kansas and Missouri. Let's go to some videotape from Kansas. Last night, they started opening up the floodgates on dams on the Tuttle Creek Lake and the Milford Lake into the Kansas River. Problem? Last night they saw up to 10 inches of rain in Kansas. And today, as I just showed you on radar, they're seeing heavy rains again, parts of Kansas and Missouri, and this portion of the country will continue to see precipitation again tomorrow. Locally, some high clouds moving through. They're seeing some rain along the northern Oregon coastline right now, patches of fog along the California coast. The only change in the pattern may be a warming trend for us by the weekend. So here's the forecast. Mostly clear tonight, patches of coastal fog. Overnight lows in the 50s, gusty winds. Tomorrow, sunny skies, patches of coastal fog, 60s at the coast to low to mid-80s inland, much like today, but then the warm-up could occur inland. Saturday and Sunday, temperatures into the 90s. It's been a very mild summer so far, a normal type heat wave perhaps over the weekend. We'll let you know. In the meantime, it's Wednesday. That means it's time for our weekly adoption feature. And today I'd like to tell you about a really neat little boy from Santa Clara County. Here we have a little tea party. We have some tea. This is Jackie. He's almost 2 years old. He's a Cambodian baby whose biological mother cannot take care of him. Thankfully, Jackie is doing very well in his foster home. Pull it really hard. Bonk. Oh. Thank you. We had a great time with Jackie. He's developing right on schedule and has a lovable personality, but he does have some health problems. He suffers from a bronchial pulmonary disease, which means that part of the time, Jackie receives oxygen. Good. Jackie doesn't fuss, and he's used to the oxygen tank, but doctors say he won't need it for long.
We're beginning to wean him off of that, and hopefully within the next 6 months to a year, he will be totally off the oxygen.
The elephant sat on a fat worm in my spaghetti.
Jackie likes to laugh, and he really responds to laughter from other people. He loves to be cuddled. In fact, he wanted me to hold him throughout our entire visit. What Jackie needs now, though, are parents who can hold him for the rest of his life. Social workers tell us that a single or two-parent home would be fine as long as one adult could stay with him for the next couple of years while his lungs grow stronger. The future can be bright for this adorable little boy if he finds the right family. If you have space in your heart and your home for Jackie, please call the United Way helpline, 772-HELP. Our volunteers are waiting for your call. Ultimately, an ethnic match would be the right choice, but the bottom line is we just want to see this boy get into a home, so we know it'll happen. These type of magical events seem to occur on Wednesdays.
It makes Wednesday worthwhile, doesn't it?
It really does.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Sussman.
What happened when Di met the dinosaur? The answer when we come back. Also, the biggest egg you've ever seen and the story of the kids who found it.
It's all right here on Channel 5. This is where winners are found. This is where champions are crowned. And when it's time to share a moment with the world, right here. It's all right here. Channel 5. Wild one! Wild one! Wild one!
80 million years old and 20 feet tall, this prehistoric adventure has it all. The park to see right now that's cool is the last place on Earth where dinosaurs rule.
Marine World Africa, USA!
To save money on a home loan, you can buy a smaller home, make a bigger down payment, or call Home Savings of America. And we'll show you 3 ways to save. Say you want to borrow $200,000. We have loans that can lower your payments as much as $255 a month in the first critical years, or save you an average of $3,300 in upfront costs, or as much as $140,000 in interest. So, to save money on a home loan, call Home Savings at 1-800-230-LOAN.
If you need light bladder control protection, like I do, let me share something. I was using maxi pads. They were the right size, wrong protection. Then I found Poise pads from Depend, and they're made especially for our needs. Poise pads are small, like the leading maxis, but they absorb 50% more. And Poise has an amazing absorbent layer that locks liquid in. Finally, the protection I need, the size I want. Poise pads from Depend.
It was a homemaker's dream when it came on the scene in 1908, and you can credit a janitor for making a clean sweep of housework with the invention of the vacuum cleaner. Learn more about this and 99 other innovations when Sprint presents the Bay Area Children's Art Exhibition.
In Australia, 3 children playing at a beach made a huge discovery. See for yourself. I mean, it's a very large 2,000-year-old egg, and it's in perfect condition. If you're assuming this came from a very large chicken, think again. It's an elephant bird egg. Not only are elephant birds now extinct, the egg wasn't even laid in Australia. Scientists believe it traveled 5,000 miles by sea all the way from Madagascar. In Great Britain, word of Princess Diana. No word whether or not she's seen Jurassic Park, but dinosaurs are getting royal attention there. Today, the princess got a special preview tour of the new dinosaur exhibit at London's Natural History Museum. Apparently, Diana was quite taken with the tour, stopping to talk to scientists and to examine some of the prehistoric bones firsthand. And that's it for 5 o'clock news.
Ana Chavez is in the newsroom now to tell us what's ahead at 6. Ana?
Kate, tonight at 6 o'clock, an Antioch woman says her lawyer bosses called women by animal names, and now she's filing a lawsuit and going public with her complaint. And you see them all around the Bay Area on high-rises and hills. Why has the PUC launched a study of the safety of cell phone towers? Those stories at 6 o'clock. Kate?
Thanks, Ana. And coming up next on the CBS Evening News, military spending that has some budget cutters teed off. If bases are being closed, why are military country clubs being saved? That story is next on the CBS Evening News.
And we'll be back in a half hour. See you here at 6.
You've been watching Channel 5 Eyewitness News. You have questions. Channel 5 Eyewitness News has answers.